channel. Welcome back to the Intelligent Psycho channel, and I'm here to do a movie review of The Accountant 2. This is the movie review for the release of this sequel as a follow-up to the 2016 movie of the same name, The Accountant, and this stars Ben Affleck as Christian Wolff, Jon Bernthal as his brother Braxton, and this is directed by Gavin O'Connor. And this is for and Ben Affleck from the first film and this film, he's continuing on as a forensic accountant as Christian Wolff, and he teams up with an estranged but highly lethal brother to track down mysterious assassins. So we pretty much start off in the beginning of the movie where Raymond King, played by J.K. Simmons, he ends up hiring Anais, played by Daniella Pineda. He ends up hiring her to track down and locate the missing son of this foreign family, but he only does this because he's only semi-retired. He's semi-retired from the force because he had a lot of health complications in the movie. But Anais didn't even want to go about trying to track down this family because she was kind of unsure of what would happen to her life, what would happen to risk of her safety, what would happen to risk of her, you know, attention. So we saw that in the movie she was kind of reluctant. She was really hesitant, but Raymond King ended up convincing her to go do it, and so she ended up taking the picture to remind her of where she was looking for, what she was tracking down. But before then, these mysterious assassins end up coming to the place and were trying to try to assassinate and try to kill Raymond King. And what happened is Anais end up dodging a bullet and end up becoming, casualty and Raymond King end up escaping the club, and he ends up evacuating that scene, and he ends up getting, the sniper rifle, an assassin by another one of these assassins. So we end up seeing Christian Wolff get this reports on his desk, and he ends up getting tracking down for his brother Braxton. But what happens is Meredith, played by Cynthia Raday, she ends up not wanting to have his brother even close to Christian at all because he feel like he would be unknown, and he would be end up revealing a whole lot of information about the task force. He would be a liability. Let me turn this off. So he would be end up being a casualty of he would be end up being a casualty of war. So she did not Meredith did not want Christian to have his brother even had a tie into any of the task force, but Christian refused. Christian was gonna do anything that he can and anything that's possible in order to try to find this same family, this same foreign family, and this same missing son. But what happened is that we saw in the movie, the Anais ends up tracking down, the son. But what happens is the forensics people end up getting in the way and ends up getting in corporate. But the pros about the movie is I do love the action. The action was very, very proponed. The fight sequences was very much all over the place, and very much revolved. You can see a lot of quick whips. You can see a bunch of just back and forth banter. You can see a bunch of just overall like hand to hand combat. I love the gunshots also. You saw that evolving in the movie as well. And I do think the biggest pro is the chemistry between Ben Affleck's Christian Wolff and Jon Bernthal as Braxton. They both really have really solid chemistry, because they both really want to track down and locate this family and locate, this and do their job for uh, the forensics community, for the forensics team. So they really are about the same goal, but they go about it in totally different ways. Meredith was not a huge fan of his lethal brother, Christian's lethal brother Braxton. You can tell that he wasn't, and so they continued to go back and forth. It was also, an all-out war between these rogue, assassins, the secret agents, and of course the forensics team. We saw that played throughout the whole movie, and we saw that played out, as we get into more to the scenes. It became more so, just an all-out bloodbath, and a lot of action movies, coming out this year didn't really have this same kind of chemistry, this same kind of like, imagery. It just felt like a lot of the same dull, boring, stalemate action movies. But for what we saw in the first, and what we saw, if spoiler alert, if you didn't see the first movie, go watch the first movie, and then you'll know why, him and his brother, are really not gonna ever be not connected, or not string and not no strings attached, or not gonna be evolve and not attached to each other, because they always keep in contact, and they always keep in contact and keep in touch with each other. So if you did not know that from the first movie, and what Christian would do anything to go into great length to try to keep him in line, that would be the main case. So another thing about the movie that was a huge pro, like I said, is the acting, the chemistry between them, the overall fight sequences, and I really do like the direction by Gavin O Connor. He really did a nice job when it comes to giving every character in the movie very much a well designed and well crafted and a choreographed screen time. He gave the appropriate amount of screen time for everybody everybody to give off a really solid performance, and really he showed a lot of ways of just doing action thrillers. And I think what this film did for me, when I seen the movie, it just gave me so much of what I miss in a lot of action thrillers as well. It gave me so much as far as like the the gripping tension, the upscale, the rising stakes, the overall just outlook and outtake. I do think that there are a few bit of issues in the second half, which I'll get to later on in my cons and in my negatives about the movie. But I do like the direction that Gavin O'Connor did, because he gave the audience really something to really latch on to really hold on to really give an overall feel, give an overall a backstory within these characters as well. And I do like the writing in this film as well. It gave us overall backstory of just the characters. It gave us an overall backstory of just the forensics team, also the CIA, and also the DA and the task force, and gave us what we all came to see. Gave us action, gave us combat fighting, and gave us all what we wanted. So those are my biggest pros within the movie. Now, the biggest cons and the biggest negatives in the movie is mainly three things. Number one, I don't like Cynthia Day Robinson as Meredith, who is the co-partner in the movie. I think that she was pretty much a bit too. She was on the screen a bit too much in some instances, and I felt like she kind of just took the grip and took the tension away from it just a little bit. She was all pretty much trying to go and play by the rules, but when you play by the rules, and especially in this day and age, you gotta do by all means, by any means necessary, to get questioning. You can't. It seemed like she was going against everything that Christian was trying to gain to get answers from. He wanted to try to get every answer that he can to try to find out what happened to this family, and she just basically was all over, just trying to not let him like do his way of finding out and gaining and accessing information. So that was just a thing that just made me kind of just feel like, damn, like you going against everything. You're trying to go against what your partner is trying to gain out of a hole and gain out of attention. So it's just like that was a bit of a drawback for me. Another thing that was a huge drawback is in the middle chunk of the movie. I felt like we kind of got away from just a little bit from the interaction between Christian and Braxton. And I felt like we went into a direction where it just became more so like finding out both of their problems and both of their issues that they had of going about things and trying to do what's right for the forensics team and doing what's right for the overall, like, I felt like just the tone between those main three characters just was a little bit off-putting. Was just a little bit off-putting, was just a bit too paint by the numbers. And another thing that was a negative to me was they made it seem like that Christian and Braxton were not gonna, you know, not see each other again, I guess. You know, and then that actually happens towards the end. And I do think that the fight scene when we get towards the end, where Anais and Maribeth, when we get towards the end of them, I felt like that was a bit too rushed. I felt like that action scene was a bit too rushed. That scene was just a bit too rushed to me. And I felt like certain bits of the pacing in the second half, mainly the last 45 minutes of the movie, pretty much kind of dragged a bit. That would be the only thing I would say. And I do think the movie did kind of drag on a little bit too long. I think if you would have shaved off at least 20 to 25 to 30 minutes of it, it probably would have been much better and it probably would have been more drawn. And I do think another negative is I do think, while I did enjoy the fight sequences and the fight scenes, I don't think we had enough of Grant Harvey as Cobb and Andrew Howard as Batu. I don't think we had enough of them in the movie. I feel like they were a bit too underutilized, and I feel like they were not used properly enough. And that's what happens in a lot of action thrillers too. It's where you got so many characters, you gotta write so many stories and put so many storylines in here, and it doesn't always come to fruition. Like, everybody gets the right amount of appropriate, screen time and the right amount of appropriate things to do, and it kind of just makes it seem like, they are not as important. Now, I did say in the beginning, I do like the way the direction went, and I do think that the main three cast members had solid performances, but I do think those two characters in particular, Batu and Grant Harvey as Cobb, I just wish they could have got a little bit more screen time. To me, that would have made the movie a lot more polished and a lot more satisfying to them to have their story. And if you have not seen the first film, I really do think you need to watch that before you go into this one, because you will be missing a whole lot of the backstory between, the two brothers in the movie and their chemistry, and Maribeth. Like, you would be missing a whole lot. And the other thing that I would say is a bit of a negative in the movie is like I said about the pacing. And I do think about that, and I do think the editing in the second half was a little bit sloppy in some scenes. It kind of felt like it was going in one pace, and then it would cut off, and then it would go into another scene. Then there was another thing that was edited in, and the action scene was there, and it was good, and I like it. But then it went to another scene, and it went to another sequence. So it kind of just felt like they did not know how to end the movie, and that's why the movie runtime felt like it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes long. It felt like it was a little bit longer than that, 2 hours and 20 minutes. It felt like the editing and the pacing kind of was, not on the same playing field. So that's where I would say was a bit of a con for me. But getting those out the way, if you want to see more films like this or similar to action thrillers, not only check out the first film, but also I would say check out this movie called 999. I think that is very similar to this. It's about crooked cops and rogue agents, and former people that worked in the police academy, kind of was and had an inside man, kind of setting somebody up to get fired. Like, watch that movie 999, man, and you will definitely know what I'm talking about. It also involves drugs and epidemic and everything. So I would say check that one out on a personal tip, because that would definitely do something. It also involves forensics team as well. For in the forensic society, they do testing and labs and stuff. But check out that movie. Another movie I would say check out is and it's not really that much. It's not really necessarily it's a lot of action, but also involving certain forensics and accounting. Probably check out 88 Minutes. I think that would be another movie that I would say check out. But overall, getting back to this one, once we get to the end, Christian and Brax, they talk in the end as they're driving off. They kind of give their own in their own morals the doubt when they had the mission accomplished, when they found uh, this family, and they found what they was looking for, and they end up having a conflict that they had, and they went and killed all the assassins, all these mysterious assassins that was out to harm them from the beginning. They end up getting the mission accomplished, and getting what they wanted. So overall, the movie, I would say, is really, really cool. It's a solid sequel to the original, uh, solid sequel to the first film. I would probably give this one, I would say maybe, I give it 3 out of 4 stars, a 7 out of 10. It's a solid watch to the first film. Definitely, definitely keeps your attention, carefully keeps your attention span up for as long as you possibly can. So I definitely recommend this one to a lot of fans who like action thrillers, who really enjoy these kind of films. The pacing was really the only issue, and then also I do think a couple of characters were underutilized. But I still think it's a solid watch, and I would definitely recommend it for anybody who is looking for these kind of stuff to check out. And I want to thank you guys for watching this review. The next movie review I'm going to talk about is Thunderbolts. That's going to come out on Friday, May the 2nd. So that be on the lookout for that one. And stay in tune to see more movie reviews like this. So thank you guys for watching. I am out. Please like, share, and subscribe. And peace.